The WNBA is currently facing its darkest hour as a high-level whistleblower has finally come forward to expose what many of us have suspected for the last 2 years, a systematic and calculated effort by league executives to suppress the truth about the treatment of Caitlin Clark and the orchestrated silencing of her rivals. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about a multi-billion-dollar cover-up designed to protect a single golden goose while the rest of the league is left to burn in the fallout. If you look at the footage from last night's tunnel walk or the cryptic deleted story from Angel Reese's Instagram at 2 a.m., the receipts are staring us right in the face. We have obtained a leaked internal memo that suggests officials were given specific directives to manage the optics of hard fouls on Clark, and the implications are absolutely devastating for the integrity of the 2026 season. The league is trying to keep this timeline quiet, but we're tracking every deleted post in every backroom meeting. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you get the evidence before it is scrubbed from the internet. Because once the CBA strike officially hits, this information will be harder to find than a courtside seat at the finals. The spark that ignited this entire investigation wasn't a buzzer beater or a crossover. It was a series of closed-door meetings at the WNBA headquarters in New York that coincided with the collapse of the 2026 collective bargaining agreement negotiations. While the public was told that the stalemate was purely about revenue sharing and the charter flight clauses, our whistleblower claims the real friction was a protectionist policy regarding Caitlin Clark. On her podcast, Unapologetically Angel, Reese recently alluded to the fact that there are two sets of rules in this league, one for the face of the franchise and one for everyone else. This isn't just a feeling, it's a reality that has been brewing since the 2024 draft. When you look at the technical foul disparity from the 2025 season, the numbers don't lie. Players like Angel Reese and Rickea Jackson are being officiated under a microscope, while the Golden Girl seems to have a permanent force field around her, curated by the league's marketing department. To understand how we got to this point of a total league-wide meltdown, we have to look back at the history that the WNBA wants you to forget. The rivalry between Clark and Reese didn't start in the pros. It was forged in the fires of the NCAA, but the professional stakes have turned a competitive fire into a full-blown culture war. Think back to the 2025 season opener where Caitlin was called for a flagrant one on Angel. The league's immediate response wasn't to analyze the physicality of the play, but to launch an investigation into crowd behavior and racist comments. While those issues are real and serious, the whistleblower claims the investigation was actually used as a convenient smokescreen to distract from the fact that the players themselves are at each other's throats over the massive pay gap between Caitlin's endorsement-heavy lifestyle and the veterans who have been carrying this league for decades. The old guard, led by legends like Taurasi and Brittney Griner, has been sending encoded messages through the media for months. On the A Touch More podcast with Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe, Sue recently hinted that the new wave doesn't respect the foundation that was built. But what she's really saying is that the league is prioritizing 20-year-olds who haven't paid their dues over the women who played for pennies in empty gyms. This tension reached a boiling point during the Unrivaled 3x3 league draft for the 2026 season. When the rosters were announced, the glaring absence of certain outspoken players compared to the heavy promotion of Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark told the whole story. The Unrivaled League was supposed to be a safe haven for players to make real money during the offseason, but it has quickly become another battleground where the in-crowd gets the biggest check, while the whistleblowers get sidelined. Now, let's get into the forensic evidence because the social media activity over the last 48 hours is the smoking gun. Following the league's announcement of the 2026 schedule, which, mind you, was released despite the CBA strike authorization, Caitlin Clark posted a seemingly innocent photo of her practicing. However, within minutes, Angel Reese liked a comment that said, "The league would be nothing without the villains they created." She later unliked it, but we have the screen recording. Why would she unlike it unless a team PR representative or a league official reached out to tell her to fall in line? This is the directives the whistleblower is talking about. There is a hush money culture emerging where players are being told that if they speak out against the Clark-centric narrative, their brand deals and Olympic considerations could be at risk. The tunnel walks have also become a form of silent protest. Last week, when the Indiana Fever faced the Chicago Sky in a preseason scrimmage, the body language was icy. Usually, there's a level of sorority among WNBA players. We're in this together. Not anymore. The players didn't even acknowledge each other during warm-ups. When Caitlin took a hard screen from Camila Cardoso, the bench didn't just cheer, they looked relieved. It was a message sent from the locker room that the players are tired of the protection. Our source says that during the 2025 postseason, several veterans held a secret meeting to discuss a united front against the league's favoritism. They feel that the WNBA is becoming a reality show where the script is written by the marketing team at Nike and the league office rather than being decided on the hardwood. Let's talk about the Unrivaled 3x3 league rosters for a second, because this is where the professional stakes get messy. Paige Bueckers entering the mix as the 2025 Rookie of the Year has added a third pillar to this drama. While Caitlin and Reese represent the good versus evil narrative the media loves, Paige is the peacekeeper that everyone actually likes, but even she is being pulled into the fray. During a recent Twitch stream, Paige was asked about the CBA strike and her face went completely blank for 5 seconds before she gave a corporate-approved answer. Digital body language experts have analyzed that clip, and the micro-expressions of fear are undeniable. She knows that one wrong word could alienate her from the old guard vets who run the Unrivaled locker rooms or the new wave fans who worship at the altar of Clark. The most damning piece of evidence from our whistleblower involves the 2026 expansion draft for the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire. According to the league has been influencing which players are left unprotected to ensure that the marketability of the new franchises isn't hampered by difficult personalities. In WNBA speak, difficult usually means Black women who speak up about equity. The whistleblower alleges that there is literally a blacklist of players who have been too vocal about the Clark favoritism, and they are being strategically moved to smaller markets or left in free agency limbo while the CBA negotiations are stalled on purpose to exert maximum pressure on the union. This brings us back to the physicality argument. Every time Caitlin Clark takes a hard foul, the media treats it like a crime of humanity. But if you watch the tape of the 2025 season, players like Aaliyah Bosted or Rickea Jackson take twice the punishment in the paint with 0 whistles. The whistleblower claims officials have been graded on how quickly they blow the whistle for Clark. This has created a vicious cycle where defenders are terrified to play actual defense, which inflates Clark's stats, which then feeds back into the greatest ever narrative the league is selling to sponsors like State Farm and Gatorade. It's a closed loop of profit that excludes the rest of the 144 players. If you don't believe the whistleblower, look at the podcast receipts. On Post Moves with Candace Parker, Candace recently had a segment where she talked about the cost of admission. She didn't name names, but she spoke extensively about how new stars need to earn the respect of the locker room before they get the keys to the kingdom. Within an hour of that podcast dropping, Caitlin Clark and her Fever teammates unfollowed Candace. This isn't just internet drama. These are multi-million-dollar brands severing ties because the truth is too uncomfortable for the Golden Girl narrative. The 2026 CBA strike isn't just about money. It's about the soul of the league. The players are demanding transparency on how marketing dollars are allocated and why certain players are given private security and charter flight exceptions while others are still flying commercial and staying in hotels where fans can harass them in the hallways. The whistleblower says the league has concealed the true revenue numbers from the Caitlin Fever jerseys to avoid paying out the 50-50 revenue sharing promised in the last agreement. They are essentially hiding the bag so they don't have to give the players their fair cut of the Caitlin effect. As we move closer to the May 8th tip-off, the tension is at an all-time high. The WNBA soap opera has moved from the gossip columns to the federal level as talk of a labor investigation begins to circulate in Washington. The league is panicking because they know that if the whistleblower's full testimony goes public, it could alienate the very fans they've spent millions to attract. They are trying to build a dynasty on a foundation of secrets, and as any reality star knows, the secrets always come out in the reunion special. We are predicting that the 2026 season will either be the greatest year in women's sports history or the year the WNBA collapses under its own ego. The strike is almost a certainty at this point, and when it happens, expect the receipts to start flying. From deleted DMs to locker room recordings, the old guard is prepared to scorch earth the entire league if it means getting the respect they deserve. Caitlin Clark is caught in the middle of a war she didn't start, but her silence on these issues is becoming a loud endorsement of the status quo. The investigation is far from over, and we are currently vetting more sources who claim to have evidence of fixed draft lotteries and suppressed injury reports that would shock even the hardcore fans. The league wants you to watch the game and ignore the ghost in the machine, but we're here to make sure the spilled tea is served hot and unfiltered. This is Basketball Spilled, and we're just getting started. If you thought the 2024 season was wild, you aren't ready for the 2026 correction. Stay tuned, stay skeptical, and keep those screen recordings running. For more on how the league is trying to silence the new wave of stars like Paige Bueckers, check out our next deep dive where we expose the Unrivaled League's secret rosters and the million-dollar bribes being offered to keep the peace. The truth is out there, and we're the ones with the flashlight.